And thank you so much, Maria. And she's got her hashtags there. Hashtags pants for life. And we're going to see a little bit of that. You know, pants, of course, is the nickname that we give to these aura cards that you put on your creature, send them in. And that's one of the decks that we're going to see in the future here. It's going to be in the hands of Christian Hauck, who is running the Azorius Auras deck. On the other side, take a look at him right here. That's Grzegorz Kowalski, who's on a really sweet build here, Paul. Selesnya Enchantress is the deck that he's decided to bring to the table here. And this is not one of the more popular decks in the format, but it's a nice one.
No. Yeah, Marshall, I'm not going to lie to you. I have 0 games played with this Enchantress deck. I did play a good amount of kind of that old version of this deck, which was kind of the 9 Lives Prison Enchantress deck, right?
Yes, yes.
But it looks like Kowalski has chosen to go with a more streamlined version, now playing Luris and playing a bunch of cheap enchantments. So this is going to be kind of a racing situation. Not a whole lot of interaction from either side. The Azorius Auras deck notably has no interaction game 1. Kowalski does have 4 copies of Baffling End in the main that should do some work in this matchup. But again, you know, I really have no idea, and I'm just excited to see how these games unfold.
Yeah, you know, the interesting part is this Selesnya deck actually seems to have come fairly well prepared for the matchup. They have cards like that one, Candle Trap, that they just drew. It gives a enchanted creature defender. And then if you get Coven, if you have 3 creatures with different powers, you can pay 2 and a white to exile the creature. That kind of solves the problem, right? Like, you're not going to get killed by some aura'd up creature in the meantime, and then you can even get rid of it permanently later down the line. They also have 4 copies of Baffling End in the main deck. So, yeah.
So he's got some interaction. Not a bad one. My concern with something like a card like Candle Trap is while it prevents one of these creatures from actually attacking you, it doesn't stop you from drawing cards when you cast a bunch of auras onto things, right? It's not like Heliod's Punishment where you remove the text box on the card. So it's one of those situations where, sure, you can put Candle Trap on one of these 2-drops, but there's like 12 2-drops in the deck, right? And if you can just start chaining a bunch of cards, Christian can still easily win with one of his other threats.
Yeah, I mean, he does have the ability to exile the card at some point, but it's
a lot
costly.
of mana.
It's 3 mana. Yeah, and in this deck, that's a lot. This deck is an extremely low curve deck when you actually lay it out. I mean, take a look at the hand. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Right? It's like, and you know, he's already cast a 1 and a 2. I mean, these are extremely cheap. Sanctum Weaver's going to hit here, Jukai Naturalist making it a 1-drop as well. And, well, the damage is coming in. Down to 13 goes Hauck. Normally, though, the Azorius Auras deck has ways to mitigate that. They can hit you with a huge lifelinker or just kill you in 1 turn.
Right, but this is going to be a nice turn here from Christian Hauck. We got a flying, lifelinking, card drawing Esper Sentinel here. So this is going to give Christian Hauck 3 life back, draw him a card. He's got Karametra's Blessing for a removal spell. However, Kowalski, I mean, this turn you got to untap with an active Sanctum Weaver. You're going to be able to generate a lot of mana this turn, potentially.
Absolutely. He also has a Jukai Naturalist, which, as his hand, you know, plays out, is not doing a ton. It's doing a little bit, but all of his stuff costs 2 or 1 mana, and it's making it all 1 mana. And the Weaver's going to tap for a time. This could be an extremely explosive turn. The one thing he's missing, and maybe we'll see Abundant Harvest, is he would like a way to generate a bunch of card advantage here, right? And make this a turn that is great now and great next turn as well. So a Sithis or something like that would be what he would be looking for.
Yeah, Sithis would be absolutely huge here.
There it is, Candle Trap, baby.
And I imagine Christian is going to go for the Blessing here. Remember, that gives it hexproof. That'll give it hexproof for the turn, so Baffling End will not do anything, at least on this turn.
You mean, yeah, the follow-up Baffling End will be blanked as well, right?
Right.
Yeah. There it is, Karametra's Blessing.
But, I mean, all these counters are being put on Jukai Naturalist, so it's a lot of life being gained here.
Yes. And there's Harvest into another Naturalist, and now there's Weaver of Harmony.
Just putting all the counters onto the naturalist here. Jeez, look at
It's
this.
8 power. And down to 6 goes Christian Hauck, and even he has to kind of flinch a little. Uh-oh.
So
Uh-oh. Fireworks.
so Christian, yeah, needed something like a Cord Spirit Dancer to hopefully try to chain some stuff together. Not sure it's going to be enough though. This Esper Sentinel only gaining 3 life here. You could put Sentinel's Eyes on it. That would give it Vigilance, which would be pretty nice. But as it stands, no protection spell against Baffling End. Selfless Savior, great against removal spells that destroy or deal damage, but not exile effects.
Right, not exile, not candle trap. It's like enchantments. Who wore it better, right? Like, and so far, it's actually looking like Gregor's.
I love how just for this tournament, Gregor's playing one way. You know what a standard deck is? I'll let you guess. One guess.
I don't know. I have no idea. Grixis Vampires.
Naya Runes. Come on. You're just all enchantments all the time.
It's not Grixis Vampires then?
It is not Grixis Vampires. I don't think you tested with that team.
I like it though. And now he has the Weaver, or the Sanctum Weaver.
He's got the Sanctum Weaver.
Turbo out everything.
Yeah, and I mean, first things first, gonna see this Baffling End here on the Esper Sentinel. Could even pay, although it is a pretty hefty cost. You're gonna have to pay 4 mana to prevent Christian from drawing a card.
I wonder if he can win this turn.
I don't think so.
Not quite. He did let him get the card. Unfortunately for Christian, it was just another land. He's got all the glitters and 4 lands in hand. Even though Kowalski's kind of going off, Christian has to be a little concerned here that this is not a good draw for him.
This is great. He gets to copy the ability, so he can remove 2 things. The Selfless Savior would then get in front of the 8/8 lifelinker, and then you take 5. Jeez.
Oh my
And Christian can only smile. He's like, what is happening?
This is incredible.
Is this one of those games where you're just like, I feel like I got scammed here. I don't know how. But like, I feel like this just should not have happened to me.
And by the way, he was 1 white mana short from lethal here, I will say, right? Oh no, he could have got him to 9. Or to 1, excuse me.
Jeez.
Well, no sweepers in sight here for Christian Hauck. He's going to have to scoop him up, and Kowalski just puts the beat down on Christian Hauck. My goodness sakes.
Wow. All right, we're going to see those Selfless Saviors get out of there here from Christian Hauck's side.
Yeah, those are done.
That was a beating.
Kowalski with 2 lands, by the way, on the battlefield that game.
That's all you need.
Put out, you know, good 30 power. Took out 3 things on the other side.
Yeah, now after sideboard, Kowalski does get to bring in a handful of interactive spells. Still not a ton of removal, but we're looking at a couple of portable holes there, along with the Declaration in Stone. But, I mean, it's mostly just trying to do the same thing. Suit up one of those creatures, protect it with the Karametra's Blessing or a Spell Pierce, and hope it goes all the way. You know, in a lot of instances, when you play against kind of the more mid-range decks, putting a bunch of things onto your Esper Sentinel will often be good enough. But in a matchup like this, where it's really important to just keep the flow of cards going, and it's a race situation, you really need to be putting those enchantments onto something like a Core Spirit Dancer or a Storm Chaser Drake.
Get big or go home. Let's find out here in game number 2.
Excuse me, Light Pause in this situation.
Oh, there you go.
Jim Davis deck that got me all confused.
Some people do still play Light Pause, I'm told.
Yeah, it's a nice mix. To paw or not to paw.
Ooh, this hand looks a lot worse than the other one for Gregor's, though. He has Visitor, and then he's running Sterling Grove here as well. This is a card, Paul, that we've seen in old school enchantment decks, Enchantress decks that, you know, like go for a combo.
Right.
But he's not using that way here, really.
Right. I mean, it does allow him to slowly find removal spells, right? lets you search up auras and put it on top. I think the primary function is, as you can read on that card, it just gives all your other enchantments Shroud, right? So it just means that basically it just gets to blank all the removal spells that your opponents could have.
Hey, this draw just got a lot better. There's Sithis Harvest Hand right off the top of the library here for Kowalski.
I wonder if Christian's just going to go for Light Paws here.
Does seem to be the case. No attack here, and pass turn back Sun Petal Grove.
And Kowalski has the answer, however, it would give Christian a card, so choosing to actually wait here. So this does give Christian at least one turn with an active light Pause.
Okay, let's see if he can take advantage of it. He has Curious Obsession in hand. And Declaration in Stone, as well as a Plains now that he played his land for the turn. These players, by the way, are both very much in the thick of it for the league race for the World Championship. We're giving away 5 slots there, the top 5 players in the league that didn't qualify another way. And yeah, they're both very much in it. Hauck's in kind of an interesting situation this season. He's a little further back than Kowalski on that particular list, but Hauck has made a top 8. And as you'll know, if you make top 6, you actually qualify for the World Championship automatically. He was unable to do so. That means that he's already played 2 matches with the World Championship on the line and didn't quite get there. Now he's looking to get back and give himself another shot at that. Number 1 goal for both of these players is going to be to make day 2. If you don't do that, you're not making it. And this is actually for day 2 as well. The winner of this will guarantee it.
Wow, what a draw there. Karametra's Blessing for Christian Hauck. So previously, I think Christian was probably just going to look to use Declaration Stone on the Sithis to prevent it from kind of getting out of hand. But, you know, when you don't have a cost reduction effect or the Sanctum Weaver in play, I mean, on turn 3, Kowalski could maybe play 2 enchantments, right? It can't just get completely out of hand the way that you saw him do in game 1. Right, where it was like 2 land, Sanctum Weaver, untap, play my hand.
Right. He is going to take the safer route here. Make sure to take out that Sithis with Declaration Stone and pass. There's Circle of Confinement in hand here for Kowalski.
Great draw there too. Jukai Naturalist allows you to go Naturalist into Circle of Confinement here. The tax on the Esper Sentinel you would have had to pay. Hauck would have had to draw a card anyways because the Esper Sentinel is a 2/2 here. So wouldn't be shocked to see if Kowalski goes for something like a new Naturalist into Confinement.
There's a Naturalist.
What to target here is also interesting, right?
Yeah, it is. It really is, because Curious Obsession's really annoying, but Light Paws, I mean, these are both sources of card advantage potentially.
Right. Hauck is down to 1 card, but I mean, an active Light Paws is just so scary.
And look at that. Kowalski's thinking the same thing we were just saying. He's like, oh man, which one of these do I hit? There's a land off the top there for Hauck. It's going to be Light Paws.
Okay. And Kowalski can also just choose to keep this back, right? I mean, it's not like there's an Arcane Flight on the Esper Sentinel.
No.
So
he could get lucky here and just hope that Christian doesn't find any way to get it through. He also could trade off a Naturalist. Oof, there's another Esper Sentinel.
Yeah.
But that's not really going to get this other one through.
Yeah, and it's interesting because with Curious Obsession, you have to attack or it's going to fall off, right?
That's right.
So in which case, Christian might just have to attack and just cast a Karametra's Blessing as a combat trick. Some good limited magic here, +2/+2.
Wow, yeah, this is back to basics here for Christian Hauck. He's sending in with the Esper Sentinel. Gosh,
I mean, still not the worst turn. You get to go Karametra's Blessing, then put a Lurrus into your hand. You have an Arcane Flight in your graveyard. You could also maybe just let this happen, get the Luris, get the Obsession back.
Yeah, just
But
plan on a slightly longer game
the thing is,
plan.
if you keep the Esper Sentinel alive here, right? You pump it, you gain the life, you get the Luris back. Next turn, you go Luris. Even if Kowalski tries to keep the Generous Visitor back, you play the Arcane Flight, give your Sentinel wings, and then all of a sudden you have a flying not lifelinking, flying attacker that draws you a card.
Yeah, and that's a real blowout too. If Grzegorz gives up an attack step for that too. Okay, Esper Sentinel, and then put Luris in my hand. Go. Ooh, Circle of Confinement off the top though for Kowalski. That could come in very handy with the information he's got. He also
probably
can search
want to
something
save that
up with Sterling Grove.
Yeah, that seems. Yeah, this is where you look at Sterling Grove and it doesn't look especially strong, right?
It looks terrible here.
When you have all the other pieces in play, it looks great. But right now, it's 2 mana, put a +1/+1 counter onto your Generous Visitor, and it doesn't even give it Shroud.
Yeah, it doesn't give that particular card Shroud. He's going to pay as well for the Esper Sentinel tax. Just kind of annoying here. You almost wonder if he just wanted to crack that clue. But he's going to come in with the Generous Visitor here. It is a lot of damage. Down to 7 goes Hauck. Ooh, another blessing.
Yeah, but we're gonna see a Luris here, and given the Karametra's Blessing, I would guess that Christian Hauck's gonna run out the Luris, put something like an Arcane Flight onto the Luris to make sure that you can give it hexproof from an enchantment-based removal spell, because it's really, really important to be able to keep this Luris alive.
And in order to turn on the Blessing, it must be
enchanted.
Right.
Correct. It is tempting to just slap a Curious Obsession onto the Sentinel this turn.
Right, but then you couldn't do both.
But then a Circle of Confinement or a Baffling End would get rid of the creature. And there's a Sterling Grove in play. So yeah, I like this play of just putting an enchantment onto the Luris, having a giant flying lifelinker in play that also gets the play around enchantment-based removal.
All right, so let's see what Kowalski is going to go search up. Is he going to be one of our favorites, Candle Trap, Baffling End? It's going to be Baffling End. So he's going to give himself 2 answers, but this is similar to what happened in game 1, right, Paul, where the lingering hexproof from Karametra's Blessing will kind of foil this sorcery speed plan here from Kowalski.
Yeah, there's the double blessing. So, I mean, you play out the Baffling End, you target the Luris, it gets blessing, and then you try to go for it again next turn, but by then, I mean, Hauck's going to put a Curious Obsession onto this Luris too?
Yes. And hit you with a big lifelinker, like it's a problem.
And this is the issue when you're playing at sorcery speed, right? You don't have an instant speed way to kind of respond to this Karametra's Blessing. You just go, okay, Blessing. Or excuse me, Baffling End. You have Blessing? Well, damn. I'm done. My turn's over. I'll see you next turn.
And this will really end the turn as well. I mean, he can't even attack. Like, Luris gets indestructible and it just gains Hauck a bunch of life.
Yeah, so Kowalski's probably paying for... Oh, it doesn't even pay for the Sentinel here.
So if he has a land drop, he can do Luris or he can do the Clue if not, or either way.
Yeah,
okay, now we're going to see Karametra's Blessing, and he hates seeing it. Kowalski shifts in his chair at the sight of that powerful 1-mana instant.
And the reason why Kowalski didn't pay there was to play around Spell Pierce. Could have played out a land first, but if he paid for the Esper Sentinel and then got Spell Pierce, that would have been a pretty big blowout.
And he's just going to go land, go. Otawara Soaring City off the top. He's got Staggering Insight to go with that backup Karametra's Blessing. And then you can see the cards on the right are actually from his graveyard via Luris, and they're good too. Obsession and another Esper Sentinel.
Yeah, and this Otawara, keep in mind, Luris is a legendary creature.
That's right. A little
it costs
cheaper.
3 mana. You can bounce this 6/6 visitor if it can potentially, if it looks like it's getting dicey.
You can see Hauck loading up on Luris here. This is a massive attack. It's going to get in for 6. It has lifelink. It's going to draw cards. 2 of them.
This is what I say, Marshall. If it's legal in your format, never the worst idea to play Luris or play a Luris deck.
You know,
I mean, it is
like
just
that
so
advice.
incredible.
I like that advice, Paul. Paul's algorithm says,
Play
check
Luris.
to see if Luris is legal. If yes, play.
Make sure all of you are taking notes here.
Card is so powerful. This is really the companion that's had the biggest impact across multiple formats. And even after receiving its tax, if you will, it just kept on going.
Yeah.
People are like, I will pay that. That is a cost I will pay.
Yeah. I think
Couple
Christian
of
just weighing
SRAMs
whether or
in the
not.
hand.
Yeah, I think Christian just weighing whether or not he wants to run out that land. He can't just go land, SRAM, and still have Blessing up.
But he wants to keep Otawara as a backup plan, maybe. Just
Yeah,
it is
just
a powerful
in case,
spell here.
Yeah, I mean, the way he loses is if somehow this Generous Visitor just gets out of hand. It's already gigantic as a 6/6. So if Kowalski empties out his hand and turns it into something like a 10/10, 11/11, then probably not the worst idea to run that Otawara out there.
Destiny Spinner was draw step here. He is making this Generous Visitor bigger and bigger.
So chose not to play the Visitor first, right? Because you could
interesting.
have put an extra counter.
Just would prefer to pay.
Pay for the Esper Sentinel, sure.
Yeah, rather than build out his own board.
Yeah, but with this Karametra's Blessing, I mean, the writing's going to be on the wall here. Yeah.
He is not going to like this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the face of somebody who says, yep, I was hoping you didn't have that.
Could maybe chump block. But remember, you are gaining 8 life next turn. Yeah, I mean, Christian's going to be able to attack, play a Sentinel, play a SRAM, and have up Otawara.
Yeah, Kowalski's going to have to start figuring out Game 3 sideboard plans right quick here because the double Karametra's Blessing really gave Christian Hauck the defense he needed to keep this one key threat alive. And that's the one that looks like it's going to get over the finish line for him here. Well, he finds all the glitters a turn late. That would have probably done it right now. But in the
And
meantime,
the really nice thing about the Otawara, too, is Christian can just use it to save his own Luris, even, right?
Sure.
You play your land, you play your SRAM, all of a sudden Otawara only costs 2 mana to channel. You can use that to bounce Luris and just start all over.
It doesn't take long to rebuild. You know, you cast one spell, get a card off SRAM, and then by the next turn, it's already snowballed to the point that you're right back in it again. You can see the baffling and the circle of confinement. Neither of them have anything under them.
Right.
It's not where you want to be if you're Kowalski.
And this is an instance where you've seen other versions. There are other versions of this deck that's playing through many copies of Slip Out the Back as kind of the protection spell of choice. But there are certainly plenty of instances where Karametra's Blessing is just superior, right? Look at this game, for example, where Kowalski utilized a Circle of a Confinement, but because Karametra's Blessing was cast, that prevented Kowalski from even getting an attack in, right? Because all of a sudden, you blink the removal spell, your creature's still in play, and it's indestructible.
That's right. Well, there you go. Game number 2 goes to Christian Hauck. He finds just the right mix of creatures, enchantments, and ways to protect them to get across the finish line. And we're going to get a Game 3 between these two. I mentioned it earlier in the other game, but definitely implications for World Championship seats at play here. These players need a strong finish, but they're kind of in the, the upper part of the pack. But it starts with making day two. There's a very clear line for the league players. If they don't make it to day two, then they can't make it to the World Championship. So whoever wins this next game will lock up that day two seat and very much keep their dream alive. Christian wants it after getting that close. I mean, he, like in tennis, match point, right? Like you have 1 point to try to win the whole thing. He had two of those to make it into Worlds and couldn't quite do it. And so he's hungry.
Yeah, I mean, at the Innistrad Championship, he was the first person to lock up that seat into the top 8.
That's right.
Kind of wants to get that taste of victory back again.
One thing that's interesting as well is with a top 8 finish, but not like right where he finished, like in 7th or 8th, you do actually get 4 extra match points for having made it to the top 8. And boy, those are coming in really handy right now.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very much keeping him in the hunt for that seat. We're going to have to keep an eye on him throughout the tournament and see if he can make it. In the meantime, we of course know Grzegorz Kowalski, having finished 2nd at the World Championship, definitely hungry.
Yeah.
All right, Weaver of Harmony. This card did pretty good for him in the first game.
In a very defensive hand here, very reactive hand from Christian Hauck. You see the Spell Pierces and the Blessings, but no auras, right? And there's a portable hole. Kowalski has a pretty decent start here. Likely wants to run out the SRAM when you do have access to the Spell Pierce, so likely seeing something like a portable hole, but really does need to find an aura to slap onto that SRAM.
Yeah, Baffling End and Circle of Confinement in hand here for Grzegorz means he's got answers. You mentioned it before. Candle Trap has its uses, but, Candle Trap on SRAM's not really the name of the game.
Right. Ooh,
Sithis Harvest Hand. Okay, that's some
great
business.
draw.
What a top deck here for Kowalski. He's also getting busy with this Generous Visitor. This thing's hitting. But the table is set for Grzegorz.
Okay.
He's got Sithis. He's got Generous Visitor. Passes it back.
And that was big, right? So now we have the Spell Pierce for the removal effect this turn. And then you can follow that up with a Staggering Insight on the following turn and try to chain that into more cards with double Karametra's Blessing. So
the main thing here is that Grzegorz casts something that triggers Sithis, trying to make sure he keeps hitting his land drops. Unfortunately, he does not this turn. He's still moving his game plan forward pretty nicely, but there is still a window that he needs to make sure he hits a land drop or two so he can get around a Spell Pierce or something like that at some point. In the meantime,
wow,
he's doing well. Wow, another portable hole here?
That was a huge draw. So now you have Staggering Insight, portable hole, and Karametra's Blessing. So you have the potential to play 3 spells this turn.
That's
Help
incredible.
with the life. Likely get the Sithis, given your opponent's stuck on mana. Unless you feel this Generous Visitor is gonna get out of hand.
Oh, that is true. And looking at his hand, that is one of the ways he could actually lose. Oh. Interesting for Grzegorz to say, could I make you get that Karametra's Blessing?
Do not double block. Oh,
Very
my.
costly.
Oh, my. There's no way Christian makes this attack,
Snap
if
it
he
off.
doesn't have the Blessing.
Double block.
Or is he bluffing it? I guess there is a way. I take that back. But, man, it is so tempting to go for the double block here.
It is interesting about the bluff opportunity here because of Staggering Insight, right? There's a very high upside for SRAM hitting.
But you have to think, right? Christian Hauck has 6 cards in hand.
Yeah.
Okay? If he had a land or another aura, probably would have stacked that on, right? So you have to think it's so likely that he has a Blessing here.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that's the conclusion that Kowalski comes to as well. He's having none of it. No blocks. But that means that SRAM hits and draws a backup SRAM as well. There was really no good way for Kowalski to proceed there, right?
No.
There's no genius play, right? If he double blocks, he gets blown out. If he doesn't, we won't call it a blowout, but that was not good for him, right? Like another card into hand here for Hauck.
One other thing I want to call out about Kowalski's list is he's only playing 18 lands. He does have the Abundant Harvest. He does have ways to kind of find the lands and commune with spirits, but just in terms of actual land count, it is quite low. So if he doesn't draw some of those other cards that help smooth out his draws, then there is a decent chance he would be stuck on 2 lands.
Yeah, even though both decks have similar mana curves, very, very low, a bunch of 1s and 2s. Just by contrast, Christian's deck has 21 lands.
Right.
So that's, that's 3 more. That's a lot. Unfortunately, though, for Kowalski, this one may well... time. Yeah, he's going to have to just to get Sithis going and do something.
This is a lot of counters, right? I mean, of course, we know that this Candle Trap will get countered, but I mean, Kowalski's trying his best to put himself in a position where he can try to raise Christian.
I like it. I like what I'm seeing here.
And Hauck only has the Staggering Insight.
And a bunch of defensive cards. Yeah.
Yep.
Hauck really does need to find an enchant, an aura.
Oh, and that's one step in the right direction here for Kowalski.
All right, that's going to earn a spell pierce, but the damage was done. He got the card, and bang, bang. That's a big attack too. Down to 7. What's off the top? Oh no, it's another land for Hauck. Uh-oh.
And does Kowalski just get in front of the visitor to prevent a card, or does he just take it?
Chump block SRAM with visitor. I could see it.
But I mean, your opponent has 5 cards. But if they didn't play an aura, that means they don't have one, right?
Yes.
Before they attack.
Oh boy, this is getting very tight. That third land from Kowalski and using up all of his mana every turn here has been enough to get him ahead on the board, right? We look at this in terms of Christian Hauck like being able to set up more like a combo. Oh, he's going to take it. Let's see if he hits something here. Oh, it's another land off the top, and Hauck is distraught. This is exactly what he needed to not happen. Land this turn.
Oh, geez. And now, I mean...
Does he have to just play a SRAM here?
He might. I mean, Kowalski is on a lethal attack, right?
Yeah.
Kowalski just plays any enchantment out of his hand, and he's got 10 power on the board.
And remember, Christian knows that he missed a land drop, so he knows these are 4 spells in hand.
Yeah.
One of them has to be an enchantment, and he can cast anything in his deck for 3 mana.
I know it seems kind of odd. I wonder if there was maybe some consideration to just cast the Blessing just to gain a couple more life.
Interesting. Right? Because he's going to have a SRAM with no pants here, is that?
Right.
That's what he's looking at?
And with Kowalski being stuck on lands, likely only probably able to play 1 spell. If he does play 1 spell and it is a removal effect, that's 10 damage. So had he used the +2/+2 effect, you'd be at 12.
He could now. I know it's not happy times, but he could now. Like if it was worth it to take 1 card and just gain 2 life, he could do that and then cast SRAM, right?
Yeah, although now if he casts the SRAM, Kowalski can simply just exile it. It doesn't have an enchantment on it, so the Blessing doesn't do anything.
Well, I mean, he can just cast it on his SRAM, right? Just to gain the life or whatever.
Oh, yeah. When he attacked, combat's already occurred, so I think. Yeah, and this is it. I think Hauck's just dead.
You're right, Paul.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So Hauck somehow, after drawing all those extra cards, getting everything together, just could not come up with a way to defend himself, and he got ran over by Grzegorz Kowalski. That's a big step for Grzegorz. He just locked up day 2 here, Paul, and that means that, as a league competitor looking for one of those 5 slots up for grabs, look, there's an easy, hard way to do that.